red. It's done.
Controlling my new living room light via matrix.
So, okay, at one level, oh wow, it's changing the pixels on an Adafruit thing. But the really, really cool thing is that he could have been typing that from anywhere. He chose an old version of Vector, but it could equally well be an SMS coming in. Hello, bye-bye. Or anything else like that. Another thing he's gone done is, let me find it. Where's it gone? Oh, interesting. Somebody in here taking photos. Thank you. So that's a Slack view, for instance, of one of the matrix rooms as an example of how things get federated together. Oh, this is exciting. Oh, God, we're in a sort of inception feedback loop now. Either way, so yeah, look, distraction into Slack and matrix integration. I was trying to talk about Ryan and his crazy bodysuit that he's built. He's built a body computing platform, again on top of Matrix, which involves strapping a lot of Raspberry Pis to his body in different places and hooking them up to different webcams and sensors. And in fact, it was Matrix which sort of inspired him to get going on this again. He had just discovered it, and you can see him there with a Raspberry Pi around his neck and the battery pack and the various different sensors and things. But a couple of months later, he posted another post here. If we quickly grab the Matrix, the whole point here is that he's taking images from different devices, pushing them into a Matrix room, which is federated between the servers in the suit, and pondering them. Using Matrix for the data fabric is looking smarter and smarter, community spec, tooling great. Lots of propaganda. It wasn't written by anybody on the team. Made me happy. So if you want to know about what Ryan's doing, read the rest of that blog. Where was I? Random thing with Coac. Has anybody played with Coac? Apart from me?
We had a co-op demo this morning.
Okay. Okay, so Coac is cool. It's very similar to HTTP, but runs over UDP, and there isn't a dedicated server and client, so it's more peer-to-peer. So you can do get-style operations on anybody, and anybody can do get-style operations on you. And it's really nice for Matrix, because you can just go and take a JSON Matrix event like saying hello, and go and, in this instance, you do a Perl one-liner to turn it from JSON into CBOR, and put it into a Kayak client to a URL that maps straight through to Matrix. So for everybody who complains about Matrix being HTTP, this is a great example of a nice binary, tight encoding of Kayak and CBOR mapping straight through into it. End-to-end encryption is something that is intended to be in the baseline of Matrix. It's not quite there yet. What we've done is to implement our own axolotl style ratchet called Olm. This is written in C++11 and is Apache licensed. Axolotl is what WhatsApp and TextSecure, nowadays known as Signal, and a bunch of other solutions use for a incremental cryptographic ratchet. Our implementation is amazing and lovely and wonderful, other than the fact that we haven't yet wired it into Matrix. But when we do, any Matrix client will have the ability to have full end-to-end encryption in there. The only thing that's blocking it is working out the key management semantics, and honestly having time, because we've spent a lot more time making glossy Matrix apps than doing the end-to-end. But it's coming up real soon now. And the end goal on all of this is that you have Matrix as this big meta network, and you've got all of the different IoT vendors, and say you want to do a visualization thing, or an orchestration thing, or data analytics, or whatever the hell you want to do on your IoT data, you just have this big pool out there, decentralized on the web, that you can sit on top of and do stuff with. What's left? End-to-end, we need to build more bridges, need to do group ACLs. Decentralized identity and abuse mitigation is a big open area of research in Matrix, because if you do bridge everything together, then worst case, you've produced a simple HTTP API that anybody can use to contact anybody on any platform anywhere. So you really need to have the anti-spam and anti-phishing kind of reputation semantics nailed down, and that's where a lot of our effort is going to be going in the next couple of months. We need help in many ways, clearly, including better drones. We really need people to get involved. We're still in beta. There are bugs, as we've seen, but if you're interested, please run a server and federate up. Writing gateways to existing stuff is really easy. It's a really, really simple HTTP API. I mean, the Slack bridge, for instance, that we briefly looked at earlier in some tab somewhere here, this is like 100 lines of node, talking with the Slack webhooks on one side, Matrix webhooks on the other, and they pretty much glue straight to each other. It's really, really easy to glue things in like that. And we could really do with some help from the community in building it, especially in the IoT domain. Tell us how it sucks. If you're building a new solution, if you're a Shenzhen sensor manufacturer, don't invent a new HTTP API. If you're just sending a blob of JSON from your thermometer to a cloud service, why not use an existing API rather than going and creating yet another random thing? And yeah, if you follow us on Twitter, you'll see examples of me trying to cut my fingers off with drones. Any questions? Must be something. Hello.
Can you give the microphone to
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so my question is more on the distributed aspect of Matrix.
Sure.
So I don't know what's the actual storage backend of Matrix, but there were two things that were talking to me. The first one is, so you replicate the data on all the nodes of the full grid of Matrix.
For a room. So for a room, so I mean we call it a room, but it could be representing chat users or devices or whatever. That room is replicated as much as is needed over the participants. So you can expire history from servers which don't care about it. So if one of those servers is running client-side or it's running on a Raspberry Pi or whatever, then keep the last 10 events. If another server participating in the room is sitting in the cloud with terabytes of disk space, then it can be the kind of backup store of everything. And in terms of the actual stores, it depends on the server. So we have two official servers at the moment, one called Synapse, which is written in Python and Twisted, and has a SQLite and a Postgres backend, depending on whether you want it to be easy to admin or fast. And then there's Dendron, which is our next generation server, which is probably going to be Postgres as well, but at the moment we're using the same Synapse thing. But there are 4 other servers from the community which use a mix of Postgres and different, I can't actually remember what storage engines they use. Because it's a standard. I mean, there are probably 30 different chat clients out there, about 20 different bridges, and about 5 different servers right now.
I guess it's the server's implementation that defines how long you're going to keep the data and so on.
Yep, it's entirely up to the administrator to define a retention policy and how often they want to shut stuff out. But the lovely thing is that they could choose to destroy all of it, and you then go and load it back in on demand. So if I ever get a message and it has a pointer to the previous message in the graph, and I don't know what that message is, I will go and ask all the other servers in the room, hey guys, where's this message from? And therefore you backfill any gaps in the graph.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to ask whether you have some libraries for Android, and in particular that handles out-of-network situations and intelligent to resend data.
Yep. Yeah, so we provide official SDKs for JavaScript, Android, and iOS, and all of them support offline operation as just basic requirements. But all of them have a modular architecture where you have a different local store. By default, they use an in-memory store, but the JavaScript one could also use HTML5 local storage, for instance, and the Android one can use SQLite to go and persist the messages which are queuing up ready to be sent when you get your connectivity back. So you have both the incremental sync from the client to the server, as well as then this eventual sync between the servers.
And for witness of doubt, you respond to network events on Android and you don't hold the wait lock?
Oh yeah, no, we do not hold.
Excellent.
We don't hold the wait lock. Other than in some situation with video calls where we do take a wait lock, and I forget what it is, but it's to stop the screen falling asleep when you're on the call, I think, which is probably a good reason to use a wait lock. So there's another question over there. It's only a TV show.
Yeah, I wanted to ask
Not that I know of. So honest, yeah, I'm not aware of one with Open Hub. We try to track all the things the community is doing. But like any open source project, you got half the people who are really excited about the thing they're building and they hang out in the chat rooms and tell everybody about it. And the other half sometimes work for big companies. So for instance, we discovered that Ericsson had been building Matrix servers and clients for months without anybody knowing, and then suddenly...
Yeah, I recommend you to talk about that. It's very interesting. You can,
Honestly, we haven't had that much scope other than doing drone stuff to work on the IT side, and it's something that would be really cool for the community to play with and to register 0.
so big round of applause.